on the FISA reforms. This is a town of power and persuasion, of leverage. And I'm not sure we effectively know how to use leverage when we have it. And we're a town that does things, a body that only does things when we have to, when there's a deadline, when there's the pressure. And you talked about relieving the pressure on the FISA reforms because of the approaching deadline, the expiration of the current authorization. And why would we be so fearful of that expiration to the extent that we're unwilling to force upon the Senate the reforms that we're trying to pass out of that your committee, that your Judiciary Committee voted 35-2 on, again, a overwhelmingly bipartisan basis that would pass this body if we put it on the floor today. And the Senate apparently isn't so worried about the expiration that we think they'll take up our bill and pass it. And so there we relieve the pressure to reform FISA so it doesn't expire. But you can apply that to the debt situation. We did another continuing resolution where we extended the Biden, Pelosi, and Schumer policies and spending levels into mid-January and early February, with the promise that we work on passing our remaining 5 bills. That's not going to happen. And I'm sorry to say and disappointed to acknowledge we have not had any demonstrated effort to bring those remaining 5 bills to the floor. We don't have the commitment to the top line total programmatic spending levels, our commitment to cut spending, no matter how modest, to cut spending from a year ago. Something Congress hasn't done, you know your history better than I do, in how many years, cut spending year over year. So we relieve the pressure, and then instead of trying to work during the time that we have to pass these spending bills, we're not doing it as we approach January 19, and I expect this body's going to go home next week and not report for nearly a month to work on the spending bills that, in theory, we're supposed to pass before January 19's expiration of this continuing resolution. Where is our unified commitment? We talk a lot about unity here. Unity requires a unified mission, a unified purpose, a unified vision. To accomplish what? We could point to so many existential crises created by the friends on the other side, the Democrat majority when they had control, the Senate majority and the White House. But I think you might agree the two most pressing are the two we've mentioned tonight, the border and the spending. And what, in the words of one of my favorite movies, The Untouchables, Sean Connery saying, what are you prepared to do? What are we prepared to do to force a lawless administration to secure the border? What are we prepared to do to deal with the unprecedented level of spending that is literally crushing us, creating the greatest fiscal crisis the country has ever faced? What are we prepared to do as a Republican majority to come together in a unified manner? Why would we continue to fund our fiscal demise? Why would we continue to fund an open border? And you know the border issue better than anybody. But some 8 million plus helped across this border by this administration and this president's policies. Helped across. Irreparable harm done if we secured the border today. Some 2 million known gotaways. The ones who don't want all the free stuff and don't surrender to Border Patrol under the policy of this administration for free travel, free housing, free social services, free education, free just about everything, benefits that the American people don't get as citizens. The ones who don't surrender for that because they've got criminal backgrounds, terrorist ties. You know, we find 100 a year, the dumb terrorists who Border Patrol apprehends, 100 a year with terrorist ties. How many among the 2 million? And if we sealed the border today, only time will tell on what scale the American people will suffer catastrophic harm because of this president's policies far beyond what we've seen across the ocean with our friends in Israel. What are we prepared to do? And I yield back to you, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you. Well, what I would tell you, when you have, let's take Lukeville, Arizona.